you for having me. I've been having the pleasure to hear a number of the speakers before me, including Justice Radhakrishnan and Mr. Tulsi. And it's a beautiful learning experience to listen to friends and to listen to other colleagues, to listen to seniors, and to imbibe even a small percent of what they would be saying. Even if we imbibe 10-20%, that's a lot.
Absolutely.
I want to start this by first thanking the BW team and the beautiful manner in which everyone has conducted the entire program, as well as the jury meet, as well as the awards. Extremely transparent and well done. And I think they thought of every possible category. I can only praise them and say that this is the encouragement and also the recognition that we as lawyers can say that is something which goads us to do better and better. And that's why I feel that an award of the nature of the BW Awards is a recognition of one's capability, and competence, and also an encouragement to young people who are setting out, who have done small startups, who are putting their feet and starting their profession. I can only appreciate what has been started by BW Awards. I was thinking of talking a bit about sexual harassment and slightly about the privacy judgment, if there is time. And what I wanted to say was that, let me start with a quote. You can tell, Jawaharlal Nehru, you can tell the condition of a nation by looking at the status of its women. While a murder destroys the physical frame of the victim, sexual harassment degrades and defiles the soul of a helpless woman. Let's look at what law there has been and what redressal mechanism there has been in India and in the world for sexual harassment at the workplace. And I want to correlate this, even though it is not totally connected, with the role of media in being very circumspect, in being very careful in the context of all reporting of all judicial proceedings or proceedings even outside the court, and refer perhaps to the Mumbai judgment, which is a recent judgment of the Mumbai High Court, where the court has come down strongly on saying that reporting by media, even if it is investigative, the duty that devolves on the media is to inform the investigative agency and not to run a parallel trial. So first, about sexual harassment at the workplace. Although there were always criminal laws with regard to redressal of sexual harassment, and therefore those criminal laws took into account sexual harassment at the workplace. But the more important aspect was, did we have sufficient laws, and did we need a special law in order to emphasize sexual harassment at the workplace? Now, the CEDAW Convention, in fact, which was an international convention in China, was what emphasized the elimination of discrimination against women. Pursuant to that, in India, and there were many cases even before that, which were in the general domain and which had been filed under misconduct rules or other rules. The Supreme Court came with a Vishaka judgment in 1996, which was reported in 1997. Now, this judgment basically said that every workplace should have a committee, which is an internal complaints committee, where there could be complaints of sexual harassment. There should be availability of a manner in which a complaint could be filed. That sexual harassment committee should be a committee already existing in space, so that if a complaint was filed, the same could be referred to a pre-existing standing committee where the complaint could go for redressal. So sexual harassment then, in view of the Supreme Court recognizing international law and recognizing the CEDAW Convention, said, let's bring this as part of the law of India, and a Supreme Court judgment to this effect by Justice J.S. Verma and by Justice Kirpal actually recognized the requirement of giving importance to sexual harassment at the workplace. After that, over many years, this Parliament brought in a bill in 2012, which became an enactment in 2013. Now, this enactment has far-reaching consequences. It is not only in the organized sector, it is in the unorganized sector. It again re-emphasizes what Supreme Court said in 1996, that there should be an internal complaints committee in every college, in every institution, in every school. And particularly, you noted in schools, colleges, and such institutions that there was danger of sexual harassment. Now, the most important aspect is the workplace should not be hostile. The workplace should be a free environment. At the same time, we have to give importance to due process. What the law recognizes under the Sexual Harassment Act is that within 3 months of the last incident, a complaint should be filed. That complaint has to be decided within 90 days. Now, very interesting, there have been cases that I have done where the principal of the institute himself formed a committee and, in a sense, had his junior colleagues decide with regard to a complaint of sexual harassment by a student. This was in Delhi. And as a result, because the case got so much, was taken up by the then Chief Minister, Mrs. Sheila Dikshit, given due importance, National Commission for Women formed a committee and gave its report. Now, the National Commission of Women's Committee could not be the statutory committee, but there is now a provision that there can be a local complaints committee and that the committee should be senior or superior to the employer or the senior most person in case the complaint is against him. What's important is due process, that a complaint should be within a period, a reasonable period. It should be with limitation, that while adjudicating the complaint, the person who has been an aggrieved person should not have to be answerable to the superior against whom she has filed a complaint. So she can move for transfer, she can ask for that person to be transferred. There will be cases that you would know where someone has been asked to go on leave while the complaint is being adjudicated. But adjudication is a must. No one should be condemned unheard. There cannot be naming and shaming of people. There cannot be something which is said which is beyond limitation. And that's where the role of the media comes. The role of the media is that they have to be very careful that they do not go beyond the realm of what is due process and what is fair and what is just. In this regard, there is a Professor Ogletree, Harvard law professor, and there have been many persons who have spoken of it, who say that there is what may be a low value speech and a high value speech. And then in the context of O.J. Simpson, which became a media trial and a trial within a trial, he says that you have to be careful that the First Amendment does not get embarrassed. And that is putting it in very mild language. Lord Denning in the context, and I think Lord Diplock of the House of Lords, comment on this aspect where media starts reporting and goes beyond its realm in a case which is sub judice, have said that you may feel and say that judges are impervious to newspaper reporting, but then you are not remembering the frailty of the human mind. In the same context, the Delhi High Court in Nirbhay's case also said, when there was a film called India's Daughter, that we cannot permit such a film to be telecast while the matter is sub judice. Same context, the Supreme Court, by judgment of none other than Justice Lodha, Justice Nariman, and Justice Kurian Joseph in Piyush CL versus State of Maharashtra, have said that we cannot be reporting beyond pure reporting, lest once a matter is sub judice, lest a court be prejudiced. And we have to be careful that this newspaper or this publication does not affect the minds of people. After all, we have to recognize that judges are also human beings. And therefore, if you continuously read something, then it should not be that a person is named or shamed and something goes beyond the realm of reasonable and due process, which is the right of liberty, the right of due process, the principles of natural justice for any trial. Now, coming back to the issue of sexual harassment at the workplace, it is the courts have looked at sexual harassment at the workplace and the various provisions of the enactment and have interpreted it extremely widely to take workplace as being anything in connection with your work, even if you are not within the actual parameters of the place. And today, with work at home, work from home, you cannot be saying workplace means only the physical place. So workplace means if you're going on an office visit, you're going to an office site, all this becomes part of workplace. Now, importantly, while the definition, including organized, unorganized sector, including protection of women who make complaints, including various aspects, the fact is we also have to be careful of what may be incorrect or false complaints. I have seen in my own experience complaints being filed when an employee is working inefficiently and is given a show cause. She may file a complaint. Now, the statistics in this are that there may be 6% of men or 5% of men who may be actually harassed in the workplace. But the vast majority, particularly in the context of India, would be women who are harassed in the workplace. For example, there is a US judgment which says there were sexually colored posters put up in the shipyard where the aggrieved was an employee. Is that sexual harassment in the workplace? Of course it is. Making sexually colored remarks is a thing. So it has to be verbal, it may be physical, but it has to be. So there is one judgment which says a solitary incident cannot form a ground of a complaint because it may be an incident. There is another case where an employer made imputations where again in the context of teaching and lectures, one senior person made a complaint against or made a statement against one of the teachers, and she made a further complaint, was Anil something, and made a complaint saying that he was making sexually colored statements. And the court said, no, this statement, if somebody is castigating a junior employee, even if she's female, if it is not gender sensitive, if it is not attacking a person as a gender and is a gender neutral statement, just because the person is a woman, she cannot say that it is offensive to her, and it would not constitute sexual harassment in the workplace. So the question that we have to address is that there should be an extremely safe environment for women. There should be availability for women to be able to seek redressal. That redressal should be swift and should be quick. It is dehors a criminal case that the person may file. It is dehors any other action that she may take. But that environment, the workplace has to, with more and more women coming in the workplace, it has to be secured and assured that women can work their best. And for them to work their best, the atmosphere should not be hostile, should not be something which is so inimical to them that they cannot function. Now, in this context, we have to look at the fact that today there are many platforms which are online platforms, and there is sexual harassment even in online platforms, which has become a real danger. The other aspect we have to look at is the fact of social media, the role of social media, and the fact that social media availability of Facebook, Twitter, Instagram can result in sexual harassment. Now, it can be sexual harassment in the school, it can be by your colleagues, it can be sexual harassment by the seniors, it can be sexual harassment by those who are in a superior position than you, who are in a controlling position. But the fact is that this may be through social media, it may be through normal media, it may be verbal, it may be physical. All of them, fortunately, in today's date and time, have a means of redressal. Concomitant with this is Puthuswami's judgment, which I believe would, where a person has a right to their private space. And because a person has a right to a private space, that right of privacy also needs to be protected, not only for women, but also for men. So let's look at the way forward where we as responsible people, as responsible citizens, say, make whatever we say has to be with a sense of a duty of care and caution. Thank you so much.